What's going on, world? I am that dude named Dave, and I am back with the Boxing Now podcast. See, we are going to do this one video and be gone here. I said I'd be back. We're dropping more content. So here we go here. So let's do the house cleaning here. I need you guys to click on like, subscribe, and click on that bell notification below because we got to get that YouTube algorithm. And I'm a struggle streamer. I'm going to admit that. So I need you guys' help here to build this boxing community here. So like, subscribe, click the bell notification, Boxing Now podcast. So here we go here. What are we talking about today here? Boxing's wish list for 2022. Now, one thing about boxing is it's always fluid and at the same time it's fickle. We never get the fights we want. And sometimes when we get the fights we want, sometimes they happen too late, or there's a lot of talk and there's going back and forth, things of that nature, and we hear the rumors, but do these fights really happen or will they happen? So last year when we first started the podcast, me and Jorge did a wish list. So you know what though? I want to keep the tradition going. So every year I'm going to drop a video of the fights that we want to see for the current year. Will they happen? We don't know. Some of these fights may not happen, as we know. We know how boxing is. There's egos involved. There's politics involved. There's networks involved. So we never know when we're going to get a fight or not. But for me personally here, I want to talk about these particular fights here because they may happen. Now, you may say, hey, that dude, you're delusional. Man, this may not happen at all. But you know what? So be it though. Let's talk about it. Let's have the good banter here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just kick this off here for the fight we want to see. Heavyweight championships here. You know what? Let's get it on. Let's get it out of the way here. Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk. Now, before I talk about this potential fight that I think could happen, I was wrong. That's right. That dude named Dave is admitting that I was wrong about Usyk beating, or actually I'm saying losing to Anthony Joshua. Now, if anyone wants to do an audit or forensics, there's some old shows from last year that me and Jorge did, and I was totally on the fact that Anthony Joshua would beat Usyk. But let me put a caveat on there before I fall on this sword and let everybody know that I was wrong. One thing that I looked at was Usyk's size and weight, which he came in about 3 pounds off than what I said he was going to come in. So I was going to be right at my assessment with Usyk. The problem, though, is that Joshua fought the opposite fight and lost 12 pounds that I thought he was going to beat, 12 to 15 pounds. So he fell into Usyk's trap, and Usyk just gave him a boxing lesson. So I admit, you know what, though? The game plan that I thought Joshua would do that was similar to old fights and his weight would be the blueprint for him to having an undisputed fight between him and Tyson Fury out the door. So you know what that means? We got to give credit where credit's due. Shout out to Alexander Usyk. He did his thing. He outboxed Anthony Joshua. He's a 2-division champion. And now we got to look at the fact that we want to see him against Tyson Fury. But wait, why is that fight not happening right away? Because right away, Anthony Joshua had an immediate rematch in his contract and picked it up. We don't have a date yet, with the pandemic and, arenas and trying to make sure they make the most money possible for this rematch here. It could be March, April, or May of this year that they have that fight. Now, the good thing is with Tyson Fury, just by beating Deontay Wilder, he's trying to fight in March, April as well. So will he fight Dillian White? That is a question that's been on there because he's the mandatory. And finally, the WBC has cleared up all the stuff that's been going on with the fact that him being the mandatory and he wanted a 55-45 split. But now it is 80-20. So the question is, does Dillian White take that big pay cut because he's been fighting for this position to be the mandatory for WBC for years? And does he go a different direction, or does he take that, whatever money that the Fury camp and ESPN and Top Rank give him, and they have this fight go on so that we can see what happens here? We don't know. But one thing we know that there is a schedule. We know that Fury is going to try to fight in March, April. We know that the rematch with Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua will happen probably March, April, or May. So if they both can win early, we could see an undisputed championship by the fall or late this year. I don't know about you guys, but I would be all in on it. Now I'm gonna do an assessment later on, but I'm just gonna say that Tyson Fury is my favorite. I am not going against the grain with Tyson Fury at all unless we see something come back with his mental health. But at this point in the game right now, my man is 6'9". He came in around like 280 against Deontay Wilder. He has an 85-inch reach. Now, I was saying similar things about Anthony Joshua, but the difference is that Fury has a trainer that makes sure that they expound on his traits that makes him so good, you know. And my thing is usually going to be able to get inside that 85-inch range, you know. But let's keep it a buck here, you know. They're both undefeated fighters. You know, Tyson Fury is 31 and 0 and 1 with 22 knockouts. Usyk is 19 and 0 with 13 KOs here. So it's not going to be an easy fight, and I'm not going to dismiss Usyk. But you know what, though? This is a fight that I want to see. I'm putting this up there number one because I think that it can possibly happen later on this year if both guys do win their fights. So what do you guys think about that? Do you guys want to see Usyk and Fury at the end this year? Or do you think I'm talking hogwash here and think this fight's not going to happen because political reasons? I think it can happen, but only if these guys don't lose. That's fight number one. Fight number two that I want to see. Oh, boy. Let's put it up here. Yeah. Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. Now, is this fight going to happen? I doubt it. Not in 2022. I do not see this fight happen in 2022. And a lot has to do with both sides of the fence here. I'm not going to say that, you know, Ryan Garcia is at fault, or I'm going to say that Tank Davis is at fault. I'm going to say that both sides are at fault, but I would put a caveat that Ryan Garcia did himself no favors after the start of 2021. Let's be real here. He had a big fight against Luke Campbell. That was his big fight, and he beat him. He had a knockdown from a body shot that showed the weakness from him, but he came back up and he showed his toughness to come back and beat his toughest opponent. But what happened for us in 2021? All we saw Ryan Garcia do was just talk. All he did was talk, okay? Thought he had a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Now, I understand it. Being a young fighter and you have the opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao, you got to jump on it, you know? But you need a signed contract in place when you're dealing with a fighter like Manny Pacquiao. I've said about this in old pods before, okay? Manny Pacquiao is about his business, but at the same time, though, he will jerk you around because he's bigger than life. He's basically bigger than the Philippines himself. So when that fight was on the table, he shouldn't have put that public A, and he should have had Tank Davis ready to go because they're on Mike Tyson's podcast. They were hyping this up, and this could have been a big event for 2021. And what happened? Manny Pacquiao didn't do that. He ended up going the Errol Spence route, but then Errol Spence got hurt, and then, you know, we saw what happened when he lost to you guys in August. But that didn't happen. Then he had a potential fight on the table. He dropped out because of mental health issues. Now, I don't want to dismiss anybody who are dealing with mental health problems. It is a serious thing. But when it comes from certain people, we do question it. And I feel bad to question when it comes from certain people because we don't know if it's truly genuine or not. And I'm not trying to be the type of person that's trying to dismiss or disrespect anybody because they're dealing with something. But sometimes actions speak louder than words. So we had that. And then he had the surgery at the end of the year. So basically he had one fight, and then that was it for Ryan Garcia. And all he did was talk. But what did Tank Davis do? All that Tank Davis do was win, knock people out, then had a hard fight against Isaac Cruz where he clearly only had one hand. He showed how swollen his hand was and gave a tough outing to stay undefeated. So say what you want about Tank Davis. Tank Davis is putting in that work, people. You know what I'm saying? He may not be fighting the top name guys that you want to see, but he is fighting credible opponents to the fight. Like everybody thought that Isaac Cruz was going to be a pushover. Now people are saying that he might fight Ryan Garcia. Will that fight happen? No. Now, if you look at all the reports, they're saying that Golden Boy Promotions and Ryan Garcia are in talks with Isaac Cruz. But you know what, though? Leonard Ellerbe put that to rest because he's only had one fight in 1 year. He's coming off a hand injury. And the fact that you're going to put him against the toughest fight ever? No. Boxing politics know that he's going to get a touch-up fight before he even thinks about an Isaac Cruz. So let's just throw that out the way here. So let's move forward to now saying that will Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis happen this year? No, I don't think so. But is a fight that I want to see? Yes. Because I think it will be an entertaining fight, people. Very, very entertaining. Styles make fights. And you know what I'm gonna say though? I think Tank Davis knocks him out, but it will be entertaining. Tall, lanky. We'll see Ryan Garcia use his speed and his length, but Tank Davis is just as fast and I think more powerful. So is he able to use his head movement and get inside and break him down like how Luke Campbell dropped him with a shot? I think Tank Davis can do the same thing. The question is, will the fight happen? I doubt it. But can a boxing fan dream? I can dream. Let me know what y'all think. I know it's a pipe dream, but could it possibly happen in winter of this year? I don't know. I'm saying, but I got to put it up there because I want to see it. I'm a fan. So let's talk about one more fight for 2022 that I do want to see. It's been marinating for too long, and everybody don't think it's going to happen. And we all know what it is. We put it up here. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. We've been talking about these two for the last 4 years now, we can honestly say. We can say that now. I can say like talks has been going on since at least like when we knew that these two could be fighting each other since 2018 the earliest. Some people may say 2017. I don't know. But there's a time when Crawford was at 140. And of course, those rumbles we wanted to see Errol Spence fight. So we can say like it's been 5 years, but really the last 3 years that we can say that right now, it's over marinated. And let me just point out to say that these two guys are the top men in their division and two of the top 5 pound for pound. Let's just put their stats out there. Errol Spence is 27-0 with 21 KOs. He is the current WBA and WBC champion at the welterweight division, and he is scheduled to fight. Let me put it out here. Yordenis Ugas. I always get his first name wrong. You know what I'm saying? But there it is there. He's fighting him who is currently, he is the WBO champion. Errol Spence has the IBF belt. I apologize. I don't want anybody to get on my case here. I know he beat Kell Brook back in 2017. But this will be for 3 belts. The IBF, WBO, WBA, and WBC. Terence Crawford, my apologies, has WBO belt. But Errol Spence has a big fight on the docket in March, April. So one thing about Errol Spence, if you follow him on social media, strap season. We cannot knock him for the fact that his fights have been for unifications, and the last fight was against a top-notch fighter in Danny Garcia. Say what you want about him. He is a top 10 welterweight, former 140-pound champion, and the fact that was Errol Spence's first fight after a car accident that we thought we thought he could have possibly died or ever walk again. So Errol Spence is not ducking anybody and has a fight earlier this year. Let's go to Terence Crawford. I was actually at the fight in November when he fought. Terence Crawford actually fought. I'm drawing up like Sean Porter. I'm sorry, people. I was at the fight. I was at Vegas. I stayed at the Delano, and Terence Crawford and his team was actually staying at the Delano. First day there. I cannot make this up. I went on a group chat with my fellows from Jump Off Live with Jeff, John, and JD. This was the first time I made a prediction that I was so spot on. I said that not only was that Terence Crawford was going to knock Sean Porter out, it was going to happen by the 10th round. Okay. And here's one thing I want to tell everybody. I am the biggest Sean Porter fan. I literally met Sean Porter 5 years a day at that fight when I took my pops to his last box fight. Of course, he had passed away, and that was our last fight together. And I got to meet Sean Porter and his dad, and dude's a dope guy. I actually been to a Sean Porter fight in Vegas back in 2013 on the undercard of a Mayweather weekend with Canelo Alvarez on a Thursday night card. I am the biggest Sean Porter fan. But this was the first time going to a fight, meeting a fighter, and say, you know what? I had a feeling that Terence Crawford, of course, was the favorite. But I am picking him to win by knockout, and it's going to happen in this rounds here. Then it happened. It was a great fight. I'm glad I was there. And you know what? There's going to be more fights than we did 10. But you know what that means, though? That makes Terence Crawford now 38-0, 29 knockouts. And we want to see the big fight. But the question is, while we're having this pod, is, will it happen? I don't know. But here's the thing, though. Terence Crawford is a free agent right now. It can happen next. But the issue that we have here, and we can go out, do another pod to talk about it, Terence Crawford and the splits. Now, let's just keep it a buck here. Now, even though that his last fight was on ESPN Plus, it did not do any pay-per-view buys. He is only bringing in his hometown. And let me keep it 100. His hometown came to the Dome on the Mandalay Bay, and even though Sean Porter's from Vegas, it was pro Crawford. His whole family, friends, the whole state traveled to Vegas. Okay, he brings his people, but that's all he brings. So from a financial standpoint, he cannot stay in this 50-50 split, especially if Spence beats you guys and becomes a 3 title champion. He would have 3 belts to his 1 belt. He has done pay-per-views that has done way more than him. He's doing venues that is selling more. He's doing bigger gates. So we can criticize Spence, but the numbers dictate something differently here. So does 2022 make him align with Al Heyman to get the numbers work? I don't know. But I want to hear what you guys want to think about this one here, about Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. I mean, people probably getting tired of want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it. They're in the same division. Terence Crawford is a free agent. He is no longer with ESPN and Top Rank. He can bounce back and forth if he wants to. So after the fight with Spence and you guys here, there should be no questions. If money gets in the way, we will have to look at who was being unreasonable. But that is the fight that I want to see. And let me just put this out here from people who's followed the show in the past. I am an Errol Spence fan. I've been following since I met him when he was a prospect on the undercard when I said I saw Sean Porter fight back in 2013. So I am the biggest Errol Spence fan. But at the same time, though, I got nothing but respect for Terence Crawford. So that's what we're here for. And let me end that here, people. I've been talking enough here. I'm that dude named Dave. And what do you think about the boxing wish list for 2022? What fights do you want to see? There's other fights, but I want to keep this as short as possible. So let me know what you think. Click like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we'll be back next time. Until then, for Boxing Now Podcast, I'm out of here. Take care.